Hello YouTubers and welcome to this edition of VBlogMag. Now in this video I'm going to talk about something fairly different that I did at the end of last year in kind of October, November 2013. I went and did a sport fasting diet. As many of you will know if you do follow my channel, I'm a fairly avid cyclist, and in the past I've really enjoyed some very good competitive cycling. Now, if you are into competitive cycling, and particularly if you're a climber, the one thing that you're fairly conscious of is your own body weight. For one, your equipment weight. I have a lightweight bicycle. I can't lose any more weight on my bicycle, but the one thing I can look after is obviously the weight on my body. Now, I've never been one for any fad diets or anything like that. I'm very wary about that kind of thing. And what I've always done, I've just maintained a fairly reasonably healthy diet, and in particular when it's racing season, I know how to eat to kind of maintain a fairly competitive weight level. Now for me, I'm approximately 5'9", 5'10", and my body weight in kilograms is roughly around, at a good median for my age, I'm now 43, is around 75 kilograms. Now my ideal race weight is around 72 to 73 kilograms. But as soon as I turned 40, I realized that even trying to maintain a normal body weight of around 75 kilograms was a challenge. And so certainly for the last 5 years, I've been back and forth between South Africa and the States because of work and family relocations. I have found it a challenge to even be anywhere near 77 kilograms. So when I was back in South Africa and I met Paul Cooper, I happened to know Paul Cooper. I knew of him when I was younger because he was a motocross rider, and I met him when we were doing the double century race in Cape Town. And he started talking about the sport fasting diet, which is something he promotes and does himself. And I thought, well, I may as well give it a bash. I'm intrigued to see how well it works. And so what I'm going to do is just talk you through what the actual sport fasting diet is, the results that I obtained, and how it potentially might be able to help you. Right, so the first few things I do want to warn you about, and this certainly goes for any big change in your normal diet. You should certainly consider consulting a dietitian or a doctor to make sure you're healthy. This diet basically spans across 10 days. It involves a process of slowly reducing your food intake, fasting for a few days, and then building back up again. Now in this process I went from 77.2 kilograms right the way through down to about 73.5 kilograms, and then in that last build-up process I put on a little bit of weight. I went back up to about 74.2. So in total I lost just over 3 kilograms, which equates to almost 7 pounds. Now for me, I had struggled to get anywhere near 75 kilograms. So the results for me were really, really good. The whole idea behind the sport fasting diet, and I don't know whether it's true or not, I can only account for my actual experience of it, but what your body supposedly goes through, it goes through a switch from where your body, instead of drawing its energy off sugars, it draws its energy off fat. So basically you end up burning more fat than you do sugar. So in theory, if you have any craving or real want for sugar, that should reduce and your body burns the fat, which means you end up with certainly a lot less weight and fat around your body. Now, again, I was certainly skeptical. I'm not the kind of person who goes on diets. And the meals that you actually eat are really nice. I enjoy the change in food. You go from having things like at breakfast you'll have a little bit of fruit, a bit of fruit juice. That starts reducing to the fasting days where you just have the kind of metabolic drink and some fruit juice, to where you start building up. You can have chicken and broccoli, and lunches you can have salad and pistachio nuts and olives and olive oil. So I certainly enjoyed the makeup of the food, but certainly the fasting period can be a bit testing. What made it easier for me, and you obviously need to check with the person that's giving you guidance over the sport fasting diet, but I had coffee without sugar, not too much. I had perhaps 1 or 2 cups a day on those days where I was just drinking fluids and no food. And then once you start building up, in fact, I struggled to eat the amount of food which was allocated on those days that you're building up. So by the end of the diet, I'd certainly reached a weight which I was very happy with. I certainly saw a reduction in the little bit of puppy fat on my waist and on my tummy. But of course, what I thought, which is the norm with most diets, once you come off a diet, it can be very difficult to maintain that weight. We are sitting in February of 2014. And this morning, when I thought I'd actually make this video on the diet, I stepped on the scale for the first time in about 3 months. I haven't been on the scale in about 2 or 3 months. And my body weight right now, after eating normally, totally normally, so it includes the odd beer. I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but I've had the odd beer, a little bit of chocolate every now and then. And I weigh about 75 to 75.5 kilograms. And that's amazing, because once I step off any conscious kind of diet or reduction in certain food types, then my weight soon goes to 77, 78. I've been as much as 82 kilograms. So there certainly seems to be something in it. The one big secret in this diet as well afterwards, particularly if you are back on the bike or running or doing some kind of sport or just trying to maintain it, what you can do is a mini fast. So once you've completed the diet, on the day that you're doing any exercise, skip a meal. I generally enjoy my breakfast, so I certainly didn't want to skip breakfast, but I found it was easy to, let's say, skip lunch on the day that you're training. Now, even when I say skip lunch, what I used to do was take a handful of pistachio nuts and just have a few pistachio nuts, so I felt like I was eating something. And on that day, I found I could easily lose 300 grams, half a kilogram, because of the training and also skipping a meal. And that again would actually maintain if you'd happen to pick up a little bit of weight. Now, the one important thing also to note about this diet, the potential other gain, particularly if you are an athlete and either a cyclist or competing in some kind of sport, is the one benefit, particularly as a climber on a bike, is to see your power to ratio gain, to see an improvement in the performance of your, let's say, your cycling. Now, the one thing I didn't do correctly during this diet is what you need to do is do some form of exercise for 30 minutes to 40 minutes every day of the diet. Not too intense, obviously you can't because you're on a diet and fasting for part of it. But I changed from cycling and I decided to swim instead of cycling. So what that meant was obviously that my muscle mass with the weight reduction also reduced a little bit, so that by the end of the diet, I'd lost a little power in comparison to my weight. So my power to weight ratio had reduced a little bit. But if you maintain the exercise that you're used to doing during that period and maintain your muscle mass, then you'll end up with a better power to weight ratio. And that means in particular if you're a cyclist and doing climbing hills and what have you, that will really go a long way to help your effort. I certainly don't know if there's anything really magical about this diet. As I say, the food that you eat is good, healthy food. You do the fasting. You have supplements during the diet as well to make sure that you do still get the right supplements even though you're fasting. And then you have the metabolic switch, which in theory switches your body from getting its energy off sugars to fat. And I say, 3 months later, I can certainly say that my weight certainly seems to be maintaining without any effort at all. But anyway, I hope you found that of use. I'll post the links below to the SportFasting website and any other helpful links at all. And just as a last note, I do know that one of the Tour de France teams now is also doing the SportFasting Diet to see how it helps them in their preparation and sporting performance. Anyway, I hope you gained some value from this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and share it, and I'll catch you soon for the next one. Cheers.